Anderson Square in Georgetown and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks so much for allowing me the honor and the distinct, privilege to sit here each day to facilitate a discussion. I'm honored when we can have the opportunity to speak with our friends throughout government, and in particular this time around from the Economics and Statistics Office as we talk about the Cayman Islands Household Budget Survey for 2023. My mom always says, a dollar saved is a dollar earned, so every dollar counts. Well, thank you both for joining us, and with great deference to Ms. Ralston. Ms. Angeline, to you, special good afternoon as well.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for having us on this program.
Always a pleasure. I think of the opportunities for the country to learn through the statistical analysis where we are economically, what we understand through our population growth, how we provide information is timely. So if I had to recall what I asked during the break, Mr. Angeline, a quick intro to you, then Ms. Ralston, likewise, and we can discuss what we came here to talk about, and then we can go get lunch.
I am Angeline Royal, Senior Statistician in the Social Statistics Unit at the Economics and Statistics Office. I have responsibilities for the Consumer Price Index, the Household Register Update, the Compendium of Statistics, the Labor Force Survey, surveys that we do on a relatively ad hoc basis, like the Household Budget Survey, to name a few of the areas that we cover.
That's awesome.
Good afternoon as well. Thanks again for having us, and good afternoon to your listeners. My name is Ralston Henry. I'm Senior Economist within the Economics and Statistics Office. In terms of my responsibility, essentially my office, our unit, produce the economic reports for the Cayman Islands. We also do a lot of analysis that would be requested whether by Cabinet, Parliament, or the Minister, and do a lot of impact assessment to try and get a feel for what is happening within the Cayman economy and how that impacts the residents of these islands. So that is essentially my role and what I do.
And as I had maybe intimated some time back, and perhaps as we go forward, only as, two reasons. One, for me, economics is probably the one subject everybody should study. I know Mr. Hartshaw always would agree with me in that.
It is.
There we go. And with that in mind, perhaps we'll be able to navigate an opportunity for sort of future discussions, just on education analysis. But today we'll talk about what we came by the Household Budget Survey, what it is, why it is, and the like. But to get people to appreciate that, as you said, Mr. Ralston, the idea of impact assessments, the notion of doing economic reports that help to inform Cabinet, so we start to navigate that process so that more of us as parents and educators will encourage your children to consider studying economics. But just saying.
And statistics.
Okay, we'll talk about the qualitative most, but the quantitative is important as well, right?
Yes.
And it's like what you were sharing relative to knowing where we are with the CPI. We see the basket has been revised recently, a number of years back now, but may need to be even again as people purchasing habits change. And
that's why we're here to tell you about the Household Budget Survey.
All right, so what is the Household Budget Survey, Royal?
A Household Budget Survey really allows for an evaluation of consumption goods and services purchased by households. The 2023 Household Budget Survey is going to provide a comprehensive source of information on the country's household sector, particularly its expenditure. The Household Budget Survey is also referred to as the Household Expenditure Survey or the Consumption Expenditure Survey, and in some countries they do the Household Income and Expenditure Survey. Now, our listeners might be wondering, what are some of these goods and services that I'm talking to or making reference to? These include items such as groceries, housing rent, utilities, transport, and that includes not just the purchased transport, but also the owned transport. Then we have items for recreation or computer gadgets. Nobody gets around without these. We have schooling, health services, as well as other personal items. Importantly, too, the Household Budget Survey collects some information about non-consumption expenditure. What do I mean by non-consumption expenditure? That looks at our financial assets, things like investment items, land, mortgage payments, bonds, stocks, net life insurance premiums. These are just some of the areas that the Household Budget Survey will cover. And in a nutshell, it really includes data on socioeconomic characteristics of the household, because at the end of the day, we'll be able to look at the quintiles, we'll be able to look at a Gini coefficient. Those are just some of the other data that we'll be able to compile as a result of the Household Budget Survey.
And that's part of the reason why I would say asking maybe for future discussions, just as almost like a seminar, get people to become familiar with the terminology, get them to understand that this isn't something that is alien or difficult for anybody to understand. The basic concepts, the thing that everybody does without realizing is practice opportunity cost. Yeah. Right? We make those choices sometimes hourly, right?
Yes.
Certainly every day, but we don't consciously realize that's what we're doing. That's why economics is. With that, Ms. Angelina, from that perspective, those non-consumption expenditure items, like the investments, are they relatively new in the data collection, or have they always been there?
They have always been there. Admittedly, however, we have had problems with people's recall of this type of information. So that's one of the reasons I thought about mentioning it in this interview, so that people can be aware that you will be asked some questions pertaining to this.
And I think, too, increasingly, the more that we are sort of introduced to this concept, understand the reasoning and justification for the information being elicited, people perhaps would be more comfortable in providing it. It's confidential. We know the economics and statistics law provide absolute confidentiality, but granted, Mr. Rasta, many of us don't like to talk about how much money we make. We may boast about what we bought, but we don't want to know. So it's an issue.
Yes, it is. And I think it goes back critically to what you were mentioning earlier. The importance of understanding, and for the households and everybody to understand how this relates directly to their lifestyle and to what they do. I mean, every day as you wake up, you're thinking about what you're going to spend, how you're going to pursue the day. And so it's critical. And as you mentioned before, there's a push now.
Pull your mic closer. And
there's a
pulls it closer, he steps back. Pulls it closer.
There's a push now to really have these kind of discussions as a critical part of our education system.
Right.
Where students are taught to really look at budgeting, look at investing, look at the whole economic structure and how things affect you. I think one of the issues was that persons were not really identifying with a household budget survey. Well, that's just something the ESO does, rather than something that I am doing on a daily basis. And so I think it's really important what you mentioned in terms of getting the household involved and understanding that they're the backbone of it. We're really just trying to understand what is happening within your area so that we can put it out in aggregate.
And there's a new thrust too towards financial literacy. Yes, more and more persons are talking about it. In fact, to me, it's the it word. Yes, everybody wants to know interest rates, what's happening with them, and we could go on and on.
Yeah. And this is why I'm hoping that we'll have that discussion going forward. I'll do my best to speak to Ms. Lady Law to facilitate it so that we get that understanding that these are not difficult concepts. And it's not going to be esoteric. It's not going to be an exam at the end of the day. It's just familiarization.
Yes.
So maybe when we come back from the break, we can talk about why does Cayman need it? How do we benefit from having a household budget survey and the like? It's unfortunate that sometimes the terminology in one jurisdiction is used a different way in another, but we get familiar with it. My interest in economics, I credit my parents. We understood the household expenditure and income. We were a part of it, not expected to contribute to it necessarily, but to understand that this is what you have. So is it then that the country's household budget survey can be akin to the individual's budget? How do I spend what I spend? Make it relative. So we can talk about that when we come back, Mr. Anthony.
Sure.
All right. And then we can take the order for Stu Kunk today, Miss Susan. All right. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, X-ray, and mammogram. All of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions. They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
When we can't find the words to express ourselves, the right greeting card does just that for us. This Valentine's Day, greet people with love through our wide selection of Hallmark cards and more at ValueMed Pharmacy. More than a pharmacy, ValueMed has thoughtful gift ideas to help celebrate the love you share with family, friends, and heartstrings. From designer perfumes and colognes, bath spa sets and grooming kits, to chocolates and specially curated Valentine's gift baskets, ValueMed Pharmacy has gift ideas and greeting cards to help connect and share with your loved ones, with free gift wrapping offered for any in-store purchases. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and Town.
Barry's Golden Jerk, the Cayman Brac sensation, ranked the #1 restaurant in Cayman Brac by TripAdvisor and home of the authentic jerk. Barry's Golden Jerk, serving large portions of the best jerk chicken and pork. Open Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday near the airport, or call 917-6713. Barry's Golden Jerk. It's simply better.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us and a chance to partner with the Economics and Statistics Office to tell us about the Cayman Islands Household Budget Survey for 2023. And as we go into the break, we're going to ask when we come back, why does Cayman need one? And in asking that, how often do we do it? Is it just annually? But Mr. Alston, to you, sir, why do we need it?
Well, I think the the big thing right now is prices. I think wherever you go within Cayman, you're affected by higher inflation, higher prices.
The globe over.
The globe over.
Yeah.
And so even listening to your program, Dwayne, one other thing that usually comes out is when the ESO publishes an inflation figure that the public tends to disassociate themselves from it, thinking that, okay, that's ESO number, my number is way higher. I'm paying a lot more for food, I'm paying a lot more for clothes than the ESO is saying. What the household budget survey does is going back to the household to kind of redefine what exactly is the household purchasing. And so this survey, why it's important and even critical now, is to understand what is being demanded within the household. What are you using your money to buy? What is important to you? And so that is why we need it, and even more so now. Because this household budget survey then serves as the basis to determine the items and the prices that goes into the CPI basket. So this is the public's opportunity to tell us what exactly are you using your income to purchase.
Could we ask then what is currently in the CPI basket? The Consumer Price Index. Well, I should ask what does the CPI stand for. But so what is in it? And maybe people listening would appreciate. And I'll come back again later on for it. But
okay. So you want him to continue with the why?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So yeah, we'll go through what is in it.
Yeah.
So the core function of the HBS is really to redefine the items that goes into the CPI basket. Naturally, the CPI is then used to compute inflation, which is possibly the most important statistics for Cayman right now. It's used to redetermine your wages. It's used as a part of your electricity bill, a part of your water bill. In the EU can use it because it then helps to determine how prices are going up and what the most vulnerable within the economy or within the society needs. So it's very critical once we get what the household is purchasing and how those prices are changing to determine from a policy perspective what we need to do to help the economy or to help the society. It's also important because it allows us to see whether or not we're able to purchase more over time. So once you do an HBS, then you do it over time, then you can have an idea of whether or not persons are able to buy more, whether or not they're able to buy less, how much they're spending, so whether or not they're spending more. And so the HBS really gives a fair or overall indication of how the country is performing from a spending perspective. Are we as a people able to purchase more things? Are we able to purchase, are we buying it at a higher value over time? And as I was mentioning before, it also helps the government from a policy perspective to determine what exactly is being demanded by the people of the Cayman Islands. And once you find out what is demanded by the people of the Cayman Islands, if persons are now demanding more security items, maybe everybody is installing them Ring cameras, then maybe the government needs to invest more in security. We can look at whether or not persons have how much are we spending on health, and do we need more hospital facilities? So once we get a feel for what persons want, then the government can then enact policies to really assist where possible. And so the HBS gives an indication or allows the government to evaluate policies. Somebody wants a concession. How important is that from a purchasing perspective for the people of the Cayman Islands? And so then you can use that to say, well, okay, I want a concession for this particular industry. How many of our Caymanians are actually purchasing from that industry? And so it's really important to have an appreciation of what persons want and how and that helps in policy.
I think this is where, as we look at it more and more, that disconnect that we may have is probably because we don't understand how important that information that we provide. It needs to be timely, it needs to be accurate, and then not just collected but collated, so that when we send it out to the public and the policymakers, then we can decide how are the resources allocated. Certainly, it's challenging sometimes, but it's not unlike the teacher in the class making the subject real, so the students appreciate it's not just a theoretical exercise.
Correct. You asked earlier about how many items are in the Consumer Price Index basket. So the current Consumer Price Index basket that we're using has approximately 2,000 items collected from just about 203 outlets across the Cayman Islands. It's important to note that this basket was decided on following the household budget survey of 2015. So that basket that we're using currently has a base period of September or third quarter 2016. Hence the need for a household budget survey to change that basket and have a different base period.
And once that is done, then we can see how prices have been sort of reflected over time. With that, though, as we go through the survey, tell us more about how long, when you can start, who's involved. Share with us.
Okay. So the household budget survey started last Sunday, January 29, and will run through to February 2024. The entire sample consists of approximately 2,400 households across all districts of the Cayman Islands. So what we have done is to break this down monthly, because as I said, it's a year-long survey. That means approximately 200 households will be interviewed each month. For the January survey, we have just about 21 enumerators in the field, and they are visiting these 200 households. You might want to make a comparison with what occurred in 2015. In 2015, we sampled approximately 117 households each month. And the survey, just like this one, it ran from late January through to February of the next year. Interestingly, for the 2015 survey, we had a population of approximately 59,374. But based on our spring 2022 estimates, we're looking at a population of 78,554 persons living in the Cayman Islands. And to do another approximate 7%, roughly 8% of households, the sample size has had to be increased to the 2,400 for the duration of the survey.
To keep the ratio consistent with the previous 7 year. Yeah.
Right.
And again, trying to make it as statistically significant as possible, and as now when you're selecting the households for the public's benefit, how is that done? You go through this. Oh, I go to John's house. Oh, Mary's nice. No, don't go to Peter. I mean, that's not how it's done. But how it's done.
So we use a random sample selection for the households for determining our samples. That means that each member or each household in the population has an equal chance of being selected. Okay. So it's not done by an individual who goes through, but it's a computer-generated random sample that is used to determine which households are selected for the survey.
And given your adjustment for the population increase, what is do you know if the distribution is across the different districts, so to represent the respective populations?
Yes, it has to be representative of all districts, and so it's proportionate to the size of the districts.
All right. And then again, trying to keep it,
and the size I'm referring to is the population size.
Yeah. So I mean, if one district is 1,000 people, you would not expect 200 people from there. If the other district is 10,000 people, you would expect it to be rated accordingly, proportionate to the population density. And then how is this survey conducted for us?
Well, each household that is selected from that 200 monthly will be required to complete 3 forms. The first form is a household form. I mean, you can relate it to traveling to another country. You get 2 forms, an immigration and a custom form. You're told on the custom form you can merge that for the entire party, but the immigration form you have to do that individually. So it's a similar scenario with us. There's a household form, and that will have to be completed by somebody designated as the head of the household. And so you complete that for the entire household. So one person would essentially complete that for the household. And then there's an individual form which each member of the household will have to complete. And the third form, which is a memory jogger, essentially the survey lasts for 2 weeks. And over that 2-week period, what we'll ask you to do is to make a recording of the purchases you make over that period. And so that the final form we'll leave with you for that 2 weeks period. And over time, you will record all the purchases that you make. You'll also keep the receipts. And after the 2 week has ended, we'll collect all of that from you. So it's 3 core forms. The household form, each individual completes an individual form. And then we'll leave the memory jogger that you use to record the purchases over the 2 week period.
And we want them to be, whether they're in the supermarket or the gas stations, whatever purchases.
All expenses made during the year.
All expenses, because that's how we arrive at our 203 outlets across the Cayman Islands for the Consumer Price Index. We have taken a representation then of all the outlets that our householders said they shopped at in 2015. So we are expecting that from this survey, we'll determine what outlets people are purchasing at and what is the total value of that expenditure.
Right. I know you referenced about 2,000 items from just over 200 different outlets, retailers to be purchased. How do we select those 200 plus retailers? We just went through these are operational ones. Again, was it? How do we come over that?
The household budget survey identified the outlets that people were purchasing from, or Cayman Islands residents were purchasing from, and so we took a sample of those households based on whether or not the outlet had issues with us collecting prices, etc. Are they comfortable with us coming in on a quarterly basis to collect these prices? And in some instances too, we collect these prices on a monthly basis. For example, your perishable items, your fruits, vegetables, meat, those are some items that we collect on a monthly basis. We also collect your gasoline retailers' prices on a monthly basis as well. So it's a question of, is the outlet going to allow the Economics and Statistics Office to collect these prices almost on a monthly basis?
Okay. All right, well, we're going to pause quickly, take the break of this segment, and then when we come back, invite you all to share more with us. So please join us after the break.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day is back. The 54th Annual Agricultural Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Ash Wednesday, February 22nd. Raffle tickets are on sale now. And for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or CaymanAgriculture.com.
Cayman Arts Festival 2023. From New York to London, landing in Cayman. 8 landmark events. Global music on the island's stage. On Tuesday, February 7th, 7 p.m. at the National Gallery. World-renowned cabaret vocalist Natalie Douglas.
My baby don't care for clothes. My My baby don't care for shows.
Tickets are available at www.caymanartsfestival.com. For more information, call 922-5550 or email inquiries@caymanartsfestival.com. Natalie Douglas, live from the National Gallery, Tuesday, February 7th.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And in the studio, as we invite those individuals who will be participating in the Cayman Islands Household Budget Survey to be mindful that that information you give is absolutely imperative to the policies and the decisions that our elected officials sort of set about. So from the Economics and Statistics Office, Ms. Angeline Royal, together with her colleague, Mr. Ralston Henry. This is almost as exciting as being at Barkas with fish tea. I love talking about economics. Almost, I mean, put us up there now and it'll be even perfect.
Talking my language now, some fish tea.
There you go, boy. I can see my brothers ready to put a pot on. But you referenced that the survey is going to take, started on Sunday, all right, the 29th.
Correct.
Can continue throughout the year, and then for the 12-month period, about 2,400 households, 200 a month. For that individual household or the individuals, how long will the sample household survey complete the survey?
So households selected in the sample will be visited, most importantly, at a time that is convenient for them to complete the survey. And what we hope is that the survey will be completed within 2 weeks from the first visit. A household may choose to complete all the interviews in one visit. Mm-hmm. Some persons really do not have the time, so they will spend the time at the first visit and complete the household and the individual questionnaires. But as Ralston mentioned earlier, there is the memory jogger that needs to be completed as well. This is what will require the 2-week period, because in the first week you present information, the enumerator will check on you periodically, and then in the second week as well you also have to present information about your spending. So you're presenting information on your spending for the 2-week period. That is recorded in what is called a diary by the enumerator. So the question is really, how long will I have to sit down with an enumerator as a householder? The household form, which is very detailed and will require a great deal of recall, will take approximately 45 minutes to complete. The individual form, on the other hand, can take just about 30 minutes for an individual, for an adult spender, because while it covers transport, education, health, and all these things, I might not necessarily have made purchases of these items over the period that they're asking for. So you have items for which you're asking for the expenditure for the last 3 months or for the last 6 months or for the past month. I might not have purchased those items or all those items, and so it varies according to how much you have actually spent. Nonetheless, we encourage all householders to try to be as accurate as possible and to provide us with the information that we need, because Ralston has, to me, outlined clearly what are the benefits of having this kind of information.
And if I may ask, just perhaps for emphasis, to get people to appreciate that, yes, we're asking you to take a few minutes of your time, but it's important, be mindful that it is confidential, be mindful that what you share, share it accurately, because then your bit, if you spend $1,000 on groceries, don't say you spend $500, don't say you spend $2,000. Is that being improper to sort of emphasize that, Mr. Henry?
No, it's not. One of the pushback we usually get, particularly because we're a government agency, is why do we need to know your business? And it goes back to what we were saying, is that it's not dedicated to provide information for the government. It's dedicated to provide information for the entire country, for the development and for the growth of you. So what we're eventually going to be tracking is how are prices impacting you? What are your expenditure and what are your needs? And so that is the clear picture of it. So that it's not, the reason why we need to do it is to get a good appreciation of what are the things that are affecting you. And so in doing that, the survey, as you mentioned, is safe. The Statistics Act prevent any enumerator or any member of the ESO from disclosing any individual data. And anybody who violates the Act is punishable by a fine as well as the possibility of imprisonment. And so no individual data can be shared with anybody within the Cayman Islands. The Statistics Act prevents us from even... the HBS is not liable under FOI, so nobody can make a request for your information. And so the information you provide is completely safe and it's protected by the laws of the Cayman Islands.
I just want the data. We want to know the 10,000 households, what it looks like, for their expenditure, what are we spending it on, what is it costing us to live and the like, and where are some of the agents that need to be sort of addressed. I'm hoping that people will continue to participate.
And just to continue to reiterate the safeness of it, every enumerator is required to sign an oath. When they visit, they're required to have that oath with them. They're required to present an identification from the Economics and Statistics Office, and they'll also have your ESO shirt. And so there is a need to provide that confidence to household that this person is representing the ESO, and they're representing the ESO in a manner that breeds confidence that your data is going to be safe in that regards.
Now, I know that it's a 1 year sort of initiative every month you're going for the public's anticipation. You collect information next year. How soon thereafter are you hoping to be able to provide the public with the information that you've collected in a format that we can use?
Well, certainly based on the last household budget survey, and I'm basing my projections on that. So the last household budget survey was conducted in 2015. The basket was made available to the public by March 2017. However, during that period, we produced the household budget survey report that was, I can't recall the date. I have it right here though. So we produced the household budget survey report. After the household budget survey report, then we start to do the price collection for those items that have been selected, because they have to be collected over a period of time, largely a 1 year period. So after you collect those prices for 1 year, then you proceed to release your first CPI report under the new basket.
And I really appreciate you allowing us to talk so we can emphasize, so that people appreciate that this isn't today and then tonight you get it, and there's a reason for it. So you can see the trend. You can get prices increase sometimes because of certain things, and then they adjust. Sometimes they keep an upward trajectory, but time will give you a better perspective as to what it is. So again, the information that we get needs to be accurate.
Yeah.
Sterling, Dwayne, some people might be wondering what was the total annual consumption of goods and services estimated when the 2015 survey was done. That was approximately $1.7 billion, and the overall per capita consumption was approximately $28,748. So we're looking forward to seeing what will we get from Household Budget Survey 2023.
And for those who wouldn't appreciate it, I mean, that first figure, and then the second, the importance of that is to show where we are in terms of our expenditure and our consumption.
Yeah, so it provides a baseline. So when, as I mentioned earlier, when the 2023 HBS is now released, we can have a fair indication of are Caymanians or the residents of Cayman Islands able to spend? Were they spending more? Were they spending less? Were they buying more items or were they buying less items? And the consumption pattern will also change.
The cost of living is inherent there.
Yes, and what items were they spending on? Was more of our money still going toward housing, transport, or computer or electronic devices? So these are questions. But it's important to note that just like the CPI report or the Consumer Price Index report that is currently available on our website, www.eso.ky, it will be broken down into what we call COICOP divisions, which is the classification of individual consumption according to purpose. That is a United Nations statistical classification system. So just like that, we'll have the same breakout. Just that this new COICOP carries 15 divisions. It's yet to be seen how many divisions we'll be reporting based on what people tell us that they spend for HBS 2023.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity to advise the public. It's ongoing. The people who come around will be readily identified, not only by their colorful, wonderful shirts and the like, but their identification. It is confidential.
Yes.
Now, if you need anything between now and then as the survey unfolds, let us help you if we can to keep the public, apprised, but also reminded. So,
thank you.
Enjoy the weekend, sir. And you too, Miss.
Thank you, Dwayne.
All right. Well, please, this is why we champion economics. Don't think better than that 50.
It's good to know we have a champion in you.
Yeah. Well, I credit my parents
for thank you for that. We thank you.
Well, please, I trust, as usual, it will be a well-received survey. And that people would understand the importance of it, and everyone will be safe in this conduct. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we're going to pause and take a break, and once we return from the news headlines, you got some guests who are going to come into the studio. We're tuning in. So stay tuned. We'll talk today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Department of Environmental Health will be conducting a series of cosmetology, hygiene, and safety training sessions for employees in the industry. To register, contact the DEH at 949-6696 or via email at dehcustomerservice@gov.ky. Interested persons on Cayman Brac and Little Cayman are asked to call 948-2321. In international news, nearly 100 million people in Canada and the U.S. brace for some of the coldest air on Earth as a record-breaking deep freeze hits North America. The frigid blast could bring once-in-a-generation wind chills that cause frostbite in less than 10 minutes, the National Weather Service has warned. Residents from Manitoba to Maine are being urged to limit their time outdoors through Friday and Saturday. At least 11 people have died in the bad weather in the U.S. South since Monday. There were 8 fatalities in Texas, 2 in Oklahoma, and 1 in Arkansas. A 30-year-old Portuguese dog has been named as the world's oldest ever by Guinness World Records, beating a record that stood for a century. Bobby is a purebred Refrido Alentejo, a breed that has an average life expectancy of 12 to 14 years. The previous oldest dog ever was Australia's Bluey, who died in 1939 at the age of 29 years and 5 months. As of February 1st, Bobby was 30 years and 226 days old and is said to be doing well for his age. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands. Hinton Roxroy Conley was born in Creek, Cayman Brac on the 9th of September 1937. The second of 8 children born to Henry Kitchener Conley and Olive Conley, fondly known as Big H to his family and friends. Like so many other Caymanian boys and men, young Hinton went to sea at the tender age of 17, working with national bulk carriers for 5 years. During his tenure at sea, Hinton sailed on many different ships, namely the Ulysses, Old Titan, St. Clair, Petrolor, Petra C, and Petra King. He sailed between Portland, Maine to Venezuela. Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we can take a bit of time to appreciate our history, our connection, our democracy, and not so much for granted the many things that we have. And I think, for many times, Mr. Mario Ebanks sits in the studios, whether in person or via phone call, and shares with us. I don't want to say, the flight necessarily, Mr. Mario, but maybe as John Wesley and Tommy had settled, we can, through you, probably set the stage, because through music and food, I think people come together. And John, we're gonna make sure Mario stays on track, all right?
with the food.
So Mario, it something that you and George both, I think, have shared over the years, that we have had and still maintain a strong familial connection with Cuba, and for many, we don't still appreciate the challenges that people still have with the politics and the economics that may impact their personal lives, but also the countries in which they live. So as we set the stage for today's discussion, as John was sharing, set us up, my friend.
Thank you very much, Dwayne, and I want to thank Radio Cayman for having us on. I want to also say a shout out to all the people who are listening, and wish you and everybody a happy New Year. Of course, the New Year is flying by already, but it's still fairly new. Yeah, you're right. There's a rich connection between Cayman and Isle of Pines, and also the Bay Islands as well of the Caribbean, of Nicaragua, Honduras, whatnot. But in this connection, we're talking about Isle of Pines, Cuba, where I was born and my brother was born, and Tommy Ebanks, who was here, Tommy Power Ebanks, was born. We came back in 22nd of October 1968, and so our grandparents were from here. They went to Isle of Pines, as many people went in those days, to look for work or school or medical attention and to raise their families. And then our parents were born there, we were born there, and then we came back. Now, so today, this is really kind of a feel-good show, and you do a lot of feel-good shows in terms of history and culture and interesting discussion. So we thought this would be a good addition.
Insignificant.
Yes, no, but very important. And it's good, especially on a Friday, to talk about stuff like this that sets the stage for a good, tranquil weekend. But so I'm just really here as the middleman in this show, because John, my brother John, he's the musician, the family. He's a songwriter. Both my parents were also musicians, played guitar and sang and whatnot. But John sort of took that up, and so he wrote a song about the flight of 1968, which he'll talk about later on, and then you have the music actually queued up here in the studio as well that you can play later on as you wish. Thomas Power Ebanks, he is also Caymanian heritage. A lot of Caymanian family here in Grand Cayman, but he also was born in the Isle of Pines. He left long after we left, because unlike my brother John was just over a month before he would have been conscripted or drafted into Communist army, we were able to get out. But Tommy and his brothers were not as fortunate. They got into the military and then they stayed. But he's been here now for roughly 7 years or so. 5 years. He's been back here 5 years. He's working at Kirk Freeport. He got family here. He loves it here. But he's also very much a songwriter, musician, a Christian gospel singer, and he has also produced a CD as well of some music, predominantly in Spanish. But I'm hoping that he'll get a chance to talk about his music and hear some of his songs and whatnot. So that's really setting the stage for
and I appreciate that, because I think more and more as we start to reflect, sadly, John Wesley, we make our differences divide us. We're more alike than we are different, but our differences divide us. And since Mario is the younger, we can keep him in check, right? We're going to try. But before Tommy comes in, that song, and I think back to the days, just in the front yard, listen to you to the guitar and play. It's about the connection, but it's also about telling a story. It's also about being reminded.
Exactly.
And for that, I think we need to be appreciative. So, John, share with us one.
Okay, well, as you just said, writing the song, I wouldn't say so much. Yes, in a sense, writing the song, but I'm pretty much put, music to a story. Because in an actual story that you listen to the song, it tells a story of pretty much that whole episode of trying to get past all the hurdles and so forth to finally touch down on Grand Cayman in October 1968, 22nd. As some of us here know, and probably a lot of the listening public, not to get into any political ramifications or details, but 1959 brought a lot of change because of the change of government in the country, and it brought a lot of changes to the country, many lives thereafter, and a lot of folks, including our late father, had some good foresight and could see down the road that things were not heading in the right direction. And so by 1960 he had jumped on a boat and headed to Cayman to try to see what possibilities there were to relocate and start life over here. He was here for a short period of time and surveyed what was available at the time, and he did see that most of the men went to sea. That was the means of making a living then, and he was not too inclined of going in that direction. So he sort of headed back to Cuba, back to Isle of Pines. And shortly after that, he tried to then make preparations to try to head to the U.S. We had an aunt there that was a U.S. citizen, so she was here to sponsor us, and was in line for that exodus, I guess, out of the country. But because there were so many people lining up to exit the country, they would give you a number system, and until that number system came up, well, you couldn't just go to the airport like here and pick up a ticket and say, well, I'm going to head to Miami. So as we just heard, that once a male reached 15 years old, they were then sort of pre-drafted into the army, not drafted, but pre-drafted, sort of had you in line and say, well, it was too close to the drafting age for you to leave the country. And therefore I was in that category. And so being that we had 5 brothers, my dad said, nobody was going to stay. We all go or everybody stay. Therefore, once I was into the army, did finish my term, the other guys, the other brother would have been, siblings would have been drafted as well, would have been there for a long, long time. And he sought every avenue he could find to try to exit the country with his family. And having, at that time right then, he had six dependents that he had to provide for, so he just couldn't make a step and not knowing he couldn't sell what he had for the money. So you had to leave, I guess, without any money, any assets, of even overseas that you could depend on. So it was a very challenging situation, And in 1964, with the consulate that was at the British Council at that time, he tried to make some arrangement for trying to get out the British subjects from the island that was in the island from Cayman. He tried to make a start, but it's one thing with talk and one thing with action. I'm an action man. I don't like talk. Talk don't do much. Anybody can talk. A baby 9 months old can talk, but they can't do very much. So, he would, once in a while, he would come up with something to get people excited with, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. So people started to manure a little bit and get some hope that something's going to happen. But it soon died back off and it never came to anything. And it went on until he was relieved in 1968 in August on leave, not that he was retired. He was on leave and replaced by a God-sent woman by the name of Mary Louise Crawl. And she came in August 1968. And she put out the inquiry of any Caymanians, British subjects that wanted to leave the country to make themselves to the embassy. And so my father was one of the first to get wind of that, and he was up there. But, she did more than 3 months than this other person had done in his years of saying I do something, but not. That's what I tell you. Action is what counts. That's what the Bible says. Know you by your works.
But the work you shall know them, eh?
Not by what you say.
Yeah.
That's not gonna do much. And she was determined to move whoever wanted to get out of there in a short order. And so we started, but in that time, August, my birthday was November. There was a short time between August and that time to get out of Cuba, because once November passed, that would close the door for us unless they were going to leave me behind, and he said he wouldn't do that. So it was a very short time. That's what the song tells you, that time was running out. So you had a very short span of time to do what you had to do. And so they did. They did some quite marvelous moments. In fact, it will take you, at the end of it, they said all persons that leave in the country, even those had British passports, like my father and many others, that they had to get a Cuban passport to leave the country with. Here's another trying to, they bring all sort of stuff to try to derail you, try to discourage you, lay you off your job, you can't maintain your farm, all sorts of stuff they try to do to get you to discourage you not to exit the country. And a passport would take you months, if not a year. So he said, well, if you got to get Cuban passports, now that's going to derail us again. And this lady said, no worry, leave that to me.
What do you remember about Miss Mary Louise?
Well, what I did with me, remember that when they would, when you did apply to leave, they would send around the officials, what they call a Minister of Interior, and they would come to your house and they would take an inventory of everything, forks, spoon, knives, everything you got in the house, chickens, cows, everything. And when the time came that we started to get some action that looked like we were going to exit the country, they would give you an exit permit. It so happened that the Lord above again, which we didn't see at the time, he thought it was taken on the negative side, I guess, but the positive thing, positive side behind it. all the other folks that were scheduled to leave got their exit permit, except our family. So my father got very concerned. He said, well, this is very strange. It was myself and another boy that was almost the same age, Mr. Earl Ebanks' son. And he was in Havana. We didn't know too much about what happened to them, but I know those in the Isle of Pines had got all their exit visas to leave. And the ferry would be leaving at a certain time, and once the ferry left, well then you left. You couldn't catch the flight again. So my father became very, very concerned. But even before that, all through this whole ordeal, at nights, sometimes we would go to sleep, and you wouldn't know when he come home. He would go in the bushes and pray and pray and pray and pray. How the Lord open a way for him to get his family to Cuba. It does make me very emotional sometimes talking about it, because it was challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go there and pray and ask the Lord to help him, open the way for him. So everybody had got their exit permit to leave the country, and only us, nobody had come around to the house. So he got, I say, concerned, but the day that the ship was supposed to leave, the captain got wind of the disturbance in the waters are not far away. So instead of the ship leaving that night, it was supposed to leave. We'd have been left in the Isle of Pines. The captain stopped the ship. Well, the Lord stopped the ship from sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And little did we know at that time that the plan of the Lord was to keep us in our house until the storm had passed. And as soon as the storm passed, the next morning they come see you, here's your visa, you can go. All the other folks, once you left the house, they put a stamp, they would seal it, you couldn't get back in the house. So those people that had left, those a couple of days ahead, or supposed to leave, they had to find relatives, they had to find somewhere to stay, because there's nowhere to, for them to get back home. But yet we were still in our house. So it goes again to say that those prayers were always heard by the Lord. And that's where the song come from having that short span of time. It says, you're running out of time.
So man makes his plans, but the steps to the...
That's right.
All right.
So...
Could I also say that add what John said, that very interesting story, some of the details that I hear today for the first time in terms of details. But our younger sister, Sonia, she was about 18 months then, and she was kind of sickly. So if we had to go out of the house and not having a place to live for that night, or it might have impacted her too. So again, the Lord was there with us, and the ferry was going from Herona in Isle of Pines to Bottomanu and in Cuba. Bottomanu, yeah. And then from there, then you get a bus to go to Havana to the airport, and that was the journey. But so I just want to add that.
Getting back, sorry, I didn't complete the question about Mary Louise Crawl. What I remember most about her was that when they came that morning, they gave us our exit visa. When they took the passports and started to go through them, when he got the mine, opened it, Chuck, he saw the age, he put it to one side.
Yeah.
He started to go through all the rest of them. So when he finished with him, he picked mine back up. He said, but he cannot leave. Say he's too close to 15. So my dad, he continued to coax them and work with them and plead with them. Pleading so much, he said, well, we'll allow him to leave the island, but when he get to the airport, now we're going to stop him again. So you can have him up until you get to the airport, but he not get past the airport. So anyway, he said, all right, he let me out of Isle of Pine, get to Havana, then I'll see what happens from there. So as soon as we got to Havana, he went to the embassy and let Mary Louise go on know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
She said, don't worry. He has to go to the airport. So the same thing happened. And they were set. The guys came to the house that morning from the Minister of Interior. They were correct. When he got to the airport, the same thing happened. He can't leave to the age. Marie Cole was standing right there. He said, but the law said 15, not 2 months before. So they looked at one another. They said, yes, that's correct. So she walked aboard the plane with me till I sat down in the seat and she walked back off.
Yeah. You shared the story with me before, right, John Wesley? If it's okay with you, if you remember, 2 things. Describe her persona, her, I don't want to get it. Was she tall? Was she short?
She was a, what I would say, not a giant, but she wasn't a little midget either. But she walked like a giant.
Yeah.
That's
the part about it.
Yeah.
She performed like a giant.
Amen. Amen.
That's the thing about it. I remember about Mary Lee's crawl.
Yeah. Do you remember what you told me, what she said to you on the plane? Well, or was it on the plane or in the airport? But yeah, she said something to you. Told me she leaned into you and she said something to you.
Well, what I remember her saying to me, that you're in the plane now. They can't take you off of here, so you're safe. I can go back off. And she went back to where her post and But it was a
touch and go. Huh?
Touch and go.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for her, probably it would change the whole story.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think sometimes, and the reason why I ask about her stature, and I was careful with the word, from what I recall, you telling me that was 55 years ago, right? This transpiring, right? He didn't tell me the story 55 years ago, okay? By no means. You're a young, strapping teenager, fairly healthy, athletic, fit-looking fella, and from what I recall, here's this lady who is not necessarily tall, but has an imposing presence, a commanding presence, I think the way you said. And she moved with such swiftness and decisiveness that the fellow, and the way you say you call it, the guard, he almost intimidated by her, I think you told me.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. He did feel that way.
And I remember
he did feel that
you
way.
telling me the story a couple of times, and I thought, it just shows you how when you walk with a presence, you walk with conviction.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And someone I wish I'd met,
Yep.
We tried to get her here, actually, when Governor Duncan Taylor was here. He actually knew of her, and the Cuban community in Cayman was trying to see if you could get her to come and we could honor her, but she had retired then, I believe. But he was trying to track her down because he knew kind of her whereabouts within the diplomatic corps, and it would have been good to really have her and thank her for the fine work that she did, that John just explained.
And this, I guess, why there are many reasons that story, John. Perhaps my age, perhaps the things you would tell me, but it made me mindful in the Cayman context on it, or women of stature and honor, integrity, the strength of our women. I didn't know her, but she seemed to have that same sort of command presence. This is right and just and honorable, and this is how it goes, and I'm going to own my space, stand in the gap. And I think you told me that sort of helped guide you as well.
Definitely. As I say, I'm an action person. I'm not a talk. And anybody with action, they're my friend. You
know what? Action speak louder than words, right? All right. Well, when we come back from the break, perhaps maybe not necessarily in words, but perhaps in song, we can get people to appreciate some of the things. I want to ask you about it. Sorry, Miss Susan, we have a call, you say? All right. Well, can we take the call now? All right, I'll take a call. Tommy, put on your headset. Mario tell you in Spanish how to say it, if he remembers. And for those who are listening, it's a chance to sort of reflect on the history and the heritage, and if John Wesley would continue to take the lead to appreciate who we are, where we are, and why. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. Dwayne, how you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, man. It's been a while, I haven't heard from you. I hope all is well.
I tell you, yeah, right now all is well.
All right, amen, man, amen. Well, thank you for taking time to share.
Good afternoon to my two cousins there, John and Mario.
Good afternoon, cousin.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. I recognize the voice.
Okay.
And first of all, I want to thank you and your Aunt Mabel and your own mother and the family who helped us so much when we came in 1968.
Right. Yes. Yeah, but I just want to say, I appreciate all the history that's going down from you guys.
Yep.
It makes me
Thank you.
emotional.
It does.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
It really does.
All right.
And John, keep up the good works on that guitar.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you for calling.
You'll soon hear the song, and then you'll also hear some of Tommy's music as well. So.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All
right. Thanks, man.
right.
Thanks. And thank you for sharing. And that's a good segue into the break, because I think we get to be appreciative. Many people here in 55 years ago, I wasn't even born then, or I was 30. Got one yesterday reminded us of the Bay of Bottomano, right? And it's important how we say it, how we spell it, and be mindful of the connection. And perhaps when we come back, I can ask Sean first, when you wrote that song, well, we will talk about it.
Right.
All right. Let's pause. When we come back, please rejoin us.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions.
JN Money touching down again. Now you can send your US dollars at any location on island, including the BRAC. It's easy. Just walk with your US dollars. No need to convert to CI. This is another convenient service available at JN Money. They always find a way to make it easier and hassle-free. So remember, when you need to send your money and you only have US dollars, don't ever think of what to do. Just head straight to any JN Money location and send your money the fast, convenient, and affordable JN Money. JN Money, touching down again. JN Money, ring to la friend.
Oi! What's going on? One day only! One day only! This Saturday, February 4th, Tomlin's and Furniture and the Mattress Gallery are having a huge mattress clearance tent sale. Save up to 75% off retail pricing on luxury high-end mattresses. Brands such as Stearns & Foster and Sealy mattresses, kings and queens available. Cash and carry sale. All mattresses sold as is. No returns or exchanges. Mattresses in the tent clearance sale have been slightly scuffed or marked during transport, but still perfect to sleep on. Don't miss the mattress tent clearance sale. One day only. This Saturday, February 4th, with huge savings up to 75% off. Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
Grand Cayman, the concert you've been waiting for is almost here.
Yeah, man, this is Graham Smart.
The hottest pre-Valentine's ticket in town. Cayman Airways, the Ministry of Tourism, Palmyra Development, and Tortuga presents three-time Grammy Award winner Gramps Morgan. Gramps Morgan.
What I'm feeling.
Gramps Morgan.
If you give a little more than you take.
Gramps Morgan from the legendary band Morgan Heritage in a special up-close acoustic event. Also featuring James Geary, Terry Williams, D. Doctor, and more. 8 p.m. February 11th at the Mango Tree. This is an outdoor event under the stars. Tickets are $45 pre-sold. VIP tables available. Get online at CaymanEvents.co or at Mango Tree. Part of the proceeds to Meals on Wheels. Gramps Morgan in concert. Brought to you by Cayman Airways, the Ministry of Tourism, Tortugas Coca-Cola, Palmyra Development, the Mango Tree, Radio Cayman, CaymanEvents.co, and Loud Production. Gramps Morgan.
Yeah.
National Heroes Day celebrations make their way to Cayman Brac Saturday, February 4th, 10 a.m. at the Aston Rudder Center, honoring our sister islands heroes who have served our country through volunteerism and charitable services. As always, the event is free and open to all. Festivities will be streamed on the Cayman Islands Government YouTube channel and will also be aired on Radio Cayman. The Sister Islands Heroes Day celebrations Saturday, February 4th, 10 a.m. at the Aston Rudder Center in Cayman Brac.
And my children belong to Cayman Brac.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to John Wesley Ebanks, Tom Power Ebanks, and Mari Ebanks. The flight of 1968, it almost can sound like a wonderful movie to make, am I?
Yes. You know, I remember, John was talking a while ago about the ferry from Gerona in Isle of Pines to Badamano in Havana, in Cuba. And I can remember walking up the stairs that day of that ferry. And I was, the youngest, second to the youngest child. My sister Sonia was the baby, but she was walking ahead, going up the stairs with the ferry. She was 18 months old, so my mother had her in her arms, going upstairs, and it was, it wasn't like the modern cruise ships. These were a little bit, a lot different and more rickety going up. And I remember walking behind my father, holding on his hand, going upstairs, and that's what I remember about that whole journey, And that next thing I remember was being on the flight in Havana before it took off, and all the smoke coming into the, just when I say smoke, I mean, coming into through the vents, into the aircraft. And my brother Carlos, told me years ago that he said when he was leaving, and the boat was getting outside, you could start to see the lights of Isle of Pines disappearing. He wondered, whether he'd ever see that place again. And so it was, like John mentioned, it was a traumatic time for a young family, young people to be uprooted from their place of birth to go to freedom. Thank God we had freedom to go to, but that's one reason why I've been so involved and passionate in my life, because I want to try to prevent other young people to have to go through that kind of political trauma.
Well, you had good parents, and in deference to the other brothers, I think, as the older brother, John Wesley. As I said to you many times, you got a man of integrity and an honest man. So, John, you have...
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, the song, set it up, because when did you write that?
Well, unfortunately, I had the song was put together before that time, but unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because it's in my father's honor that this song is recorded today, and it so happened that I didn't bring it to light until after he had passed, which is a kind of a bitter feeling to me, because I would like for him to have heard what I had, how I had put music to the story, not written the song, because the song was written from the time he started the process of leaving Cuba in August '68 to land in here. And I must say too that it took a lot of courage. I mean, he was determined to seek freedom for his family, because with all the property and so forth that he had in Cuba, which is also mentioned in the song, he gave up everything. Oh, I can sit right now and hear the padlock snap on the door that morning. And you heard the padlock snap and they put the seal on the door. He said, "Don't look back, follow me."
Onward we move. Yeah.
He landed in Cayman with 8 dependents, not one cent in the pocket. Left everything behind. That he would have to say his youthful years was behind him, but he was determined to make a go of it, make the best of it, and I really honor him today.
Amen.
Well, Susan has the song for us, right?
So listen to the song and you'll hear a whole lot about that whole.
All right.
One cool October morning, the day had just begun. Dark clouds in the sky hid away the morning sun. Clearly you could see it would be a stormy day. Yet Daddy prayed, dear Lord, open up your way. In the dark of the night, all alone he would go. Dear Lord, help me now, I come with all my faith. Time is running out, just a few more days to go to beyond the flight of 1968. The wind and the rain couldn't stop him at all. His passion for freedom, it would cost him all. His house and his land and all his property, they would take away, but not his liberty. In the dark of the night, all alone he would go. Dear Lord, help me now, I come with all my faith. Time is running out, just a few more days to go to beyond the flight of 1968. The ship was at port, all ready to sail. Friends on the ground and bid them all farewell. They heard the captain say it was almost midnight. The ship wouldn't sail, for a storm was inside. In the dark of the night, all alone he would go. Dear Lord, help me now, I come with all my faith. Time is running out, just a few more days to go to beyond the flight of 1968. The threat of the storm slowly drifted away. Dark clouds disappeared, it was a brand new day. And so was the answer to my daddy's prayer. The Lord kept us safe, and now it was clear. In the dark of the night, all alone he would go. Dear Lord, help me now, I come with all my faith. Time is running out, just a few more days to go to beyond the flight of 1968.
Welcome back. And John Wesley, as I listened to that song, I'm reminded of many things. It certainly resonates with Anna Martin's music, Whether Letter to Sea, or as he, true as you've done, true story in the song, message in the music, reminding us. It's important.
Very, very, very. It means a lot to me. It's a very emotional song. Every time I how to sing it publicly, it brings tears in my eyes.
And as we go into the break, I'm perhaps share with you that, as your father has many times, how should it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? What is more important, wealth or liberty?
That's right.
And that sort of resolve and resilience that we see in our people to this day.
That's right.
As we go into the break, what do you say to us now? Us, the young, teenager, us, that young parent, us, that person on the precipice of retirement. We take so much for granted.
Yeah, we do. And what I would say, if I would trying to emphasize anything on that, is that always have that determination and that zeal and that positive attitude of assurance that if there is a will, there is almost always a way. And a lot of people get cold-footed, discouraged along the way, and sometimes because just as the door is ready to open, they turn back.
Yeah.
And
there's power in prayer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Power in prayer. It was proven with this whole operation that prayer took us through. Because even when they tried to stop us in 2 occasions at the last gate, it had to be open.
All right, so when we come back then, so Tommy, invite you into the discussion, share with you, maybe have some things to say. But we pause first, take the break, and when we come back, we'll start with you. All right, stay tuned.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
They say variety is the spice of life, and that's why at Subway we're introducing the new boneless hot sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Freedom, Cayman Rack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Dwayne Porter will be taking appointments from February 13th to 18th at his Crew Road Clinic. Clinic appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.portercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020. National Heroes Day celebrations make their way to Cayman Brac Saturday, February 4th, 10 a.m. at the Aston Rudder Center, honoring our sister islands heroes who have served our country through volunteerism and charitable services. As always, the event is free and open to all. Festivities will be streamed on the Cayman Islands Government YouTube channel and will also be aired on Radio Cayman. The Sister Islands Heroes Day celebrations Saturday, February 4th, 10 a.m. at the Aston Rudder Center in Cayman Brac.
And my children belong to Cayman Brac.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks again for the opportunity. And I think if we can appreciate continually and be supportive of what is truly, Radio Cayman, a voice for the people, on and for us, it is our people's station. John Wesley Ebanks, Tommy Paul Ebanks, and Mari Ebanks, thanks for joining us. John, that song, it not just stirs a strong emotion in us, but it makes you reflect that not only are we divided sometimes by distance, our families are separated, but it should remind us that we have a unifying chord in prayer.
Exactly.
And
so true.
The example that your parents, what your father said, and we try to emulate, should be something that is encouraging our populace.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. But I'd say he tried for. I'd say that in 1959, 1st of January 1959, is when we had to change the government, and by early 1960, he was, we just saw what was taking place, and he was getting ready to get rid of them. So he had a good 8 years of struggle, but he was determined. He never stopped. He got where he wanted to get.
And thanks for emphasizing that, because I think, like study, we got friends and family who are physicians. It wasn't one-day course,
That's right.
15 years in, and they're still getting to the specialty. Like the football team preparing, this isn't just a weekend of practice for the game on Monday afternoon.
And during that time that we waited, from, like John mentioned, from 59 to 68, I mean, our father went through so many struggles, with his business, with his property. He had to pretty much close down his business and just train people, which is a good thing to do as well. But you were shut down, and so you had to go back into survival mode. And he would have loved to have stayed, but he saw there was no future. So we were able to get out by the grace of God. The CD, the music, the John song is really, like he said, a tribute to him and honoring him, and it's such a wonderful job.
Also, as I say, he prayed non-stop. It's very evident that prayer does work and prayers are answered, because one of the things also that helped him, that he was not a person to get discouraged very easily.
Perseverance.
When discouragement set in, you can kind of, put a damper on your plan, on your struggles, on your, where you want to get. But he was a person that he was amazing. He could block things behind, in the back. It was there, but it didn't slow him down to tell, well, this is done, or they're going to make it, or whatever. He always saw a door that he looking ahead.
With that, then, Tommy, you've been sitting there quietly listening and joining us, right? And my Spanish isn't as good, at least for public consumption. So I can order perhaps una Coca-Cola, por favor, or una cerveza, perhaps.
English is pretty good. So.
But thank you, Mario. But thankfully, your English is better. So welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
All right. Tell us how this all fits into you. Through the music, and then we listen to some of your music as well. But 5 years in Cayman now, family divided by a few feet of water. What has it been like to be here now?
Well, I came first time to Cayman with my mother in 1998. I came here because she wanted someone to to travel with some son, and this I want to help her because she was old already. And then in 1998, we spent here as visitors. We spent here 1 month, and after we return to our country, to Philippines. But I always wanted to come back, and I don't have the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a dream to come back, and I couldn't come back. But I was in the church in Philippines, and I was a musician there. And I used to go to the service and sing sometime, and I was making my songs. And one day I was sitting down on the porch of the church in La de Mahagua, my town, and a Puerto Rican pastor that had came from Orlando, Florida. She was living there at that time. She's also evangelistic, and she's a prophet. And I was sitting down on the church porch, and I was like discouraged, tired of being passing all kind of, going through all kind of bad times and discouraged times. And she came and she put her hand on top of my forehead, and she told me, God just tell me, don't worry, because He's going to take you out of here, and you're going to live in another country. So at that time, I had spent many years waiting to go somewhere, but I couldn't find the possibility to leave the country because I was like kind of discouraged about many things. But the woman said, don't lose your faith and keep your faith, because when God says something, He will do it. So I continue living and going to the church and doing what I have to do. But around 1 year after that was like in 2017 around, maybe 2016 or 2000, almost 2017. But around 2017 and around that age, that year, a friend of mine, he had also evangelistic a card, and he used to come to my house sometime, and we used to pray there under the mango trees and pray for different things, and pray for my family and pray for everything that just come to our mind. So then he told me, prepare your passport and go and get your certification of birth and look for your mother and father certification of birth, because you're going to travel. And then I said, no, I don't think so. I hope so, but how you know that? He said, no, God told me. So you must get ready and go get your papers and get ready, because you will travel someday in the future, not so far away. So then I was thinking, well, who's going to take me out of the place? And so then I started to get my papers anyway. I went to the office in Nueva Gerona in Philippines, where I born. And I found all my documents. I started getting my birth certification, my father and mother birth certification, and all the documents that I could get. But I didn't have my passport made yet, and then suddenly, a few months after that, some people from Kim Brack, they called me and they said that they was going to organize a visit here to Kiman for me, because the pastor of Kim Brack Church of God Church, he had went there and visit already Philippines, and my church, he had visited there. And he had visited also my farm, or my family farm, where I was living. So he knew me, and he was organizing some kind of way to bring me to visit the island. So then for ahead, they called me and they said what I need to make my passport, and then they sent some money. And I made my passport, and I started to do everything that I had to do. So for ahead, I don't remember exactly now, but for ahead some months more, then after then I came to visit. I was first here in Grand Cayman, 3 months around in West Bay with my family there, and after that then I went to visit Cayman Brac. I spent several days over there, and then I came back to the Grand again. But then after that, I spent also, further ahead, I went to the Brac again, and I spent around 6 months there again. So then meanwhile I was here visiting, they was helping me making extensions to be more time, because I came only for 3 months, and they was making extension. And I was doing my papers with Sabrina Turner, that she's a lawyer here at that time. I don't know now. But she was making my papers, and when my time came up to 1 year, that I could be here 1 year, well, my papers was already finished. But then I had to go back to Cuba, and then come back from Cuba, come back again. So I went in 2018, I came, and 2019 I went back to Cuba, and then I spent there around 2 months, and then after that I came back here with my papers, and I came to stay for good. So from that time on, then I am living here in Cayman Islands.
Yeah. All right. Well, after the break, then we'll talk more, but quite a striking difference 50 years can make, huh?
Mm-hmm.
One by boat, one plane. All right, let's pause, do the news break, and we come back, we talk to the story. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure Honorable J. Ebanks encourages members of the public to support the upcoming annual Cayman Islands Agriculture Shows, which will be held across the islands starting this month. The events, organized by the Cayman Islands Agricultural Society with the support of the Ministry Department of Agriculture and other key stakeholders, will be held in Grand Cayman on Ash Wednesday, February 22nd, Cayman Brac Saturday, March 25th, and Little Cayman Saturday, April 29th. In international news, potential car buyers in China have found that an online advert for a luxury sports car was just too good to be true. A Porsche dealership listed the brand new vehicle for $18,300. That is just a fraction of what it should have been. The Panamera has a starting price of $148,000. The promotion attracted hundreds of would-be buyers who rushed to secure what appeared to be a bargain. A spokesperson for the German car maker told the BBC that the promotion contained a serious mistake in the listed retail price, which was taken down immediately. Disgraced former pop star Gary Glitter has been freed from prison after serving half his 16-year jail term. Glitter, who is 78, his real name is Paul Gadd, was sentenced in 2015 for attempted rape, 4 counts of indecent assault, and 1 of having sex with a girl under 13. He was one of the biggest music stars of the 1970s. A Justice Ministry spokesperson told the BBC Gadd will be closely monitored by probation officers, and the BBC understands he will be fitted with a GPS tag. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Between the traffic, the meetings, kids' activities, there just isn't enough time. Best Health Pharmacy was a game changer. Not only are they centrally located on Eastern Avenue, but they deliver prescriptions for free anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. I could not believe it. When my prescription ran out, they ran it back to me. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor, offering free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358. Best Health Pharmacy. Your health, your convenience is their priority.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to the John Wesley Ebanks, Thomas Perry Ebanks, and Mario Ebanks, the clan of Ebanks from the Bay of West.
Yes.
Well, yeah, gents, we do have a caller online, and as we were just going into the break, Tom, I want you to tell us more of it, and we look at it. But I think we have a caller, Miss Susan. All right, let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne Sterling.
No, George Sterling. Come on, say it with me.
Hi,
Sterling, Dwayne Ebanks. Come on, George, you can draw for me.
To my family and siblings.
Come on, George.
I was listening, and I was so moved. I want to commend my brother John for writing the song, and it's really a song that fits. It's really a song that fits an occasion. It's a walk through history, really, for our family. And it's really a song that I hope gets some play on the radio, and the sort of introduction to that song should really be when the DJ was ever played, he should be introduced it by saying this is a song about a struggle and victory. It's a real song, a real story in a song, and I hope it gets some play. But I want to commend you, John. And nice to be listening while I work. It's a story which I can relate to, and it's one that I will continue to listen to while you finish up your time at the radio station with our good neighbor Dwayne Ebanks on Radio Cayman. But God bless you all, and I'll continue to listen. Tommy, nice to hear you too, and I'll continue to listen.
Hey, thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. He's a cousin as well, so not just a neighbor.
But the whole it against okay for that. But I want to joke with him, guys. You see, John, to you, this is like George said. It's about victory. It's about overcoming. But it's about perseverance and persistence. And like to Thomas' point, the journeys are different. The process is different. And as I was thinking about today's discussion, to get us who occupy this time and space, especially in this country now, not to take it for granted, not to allow the politician or the political appointee to be able to leverage our voice without accountability.
Exactly.
Right? Amount of action, John.
Exactly.
All right, so Tommy, we want to hear some of your music as well, and thanks for sharing the CD with us. But as we do, you speak to your time here. You've visited. There's a familiar connection. It's been from birth to 98 before you visit, then the church brings you back. You see there is this, my words perhaps, intervening forces at play, and there's this convicting spirit, there's this faith that Mr. Phil had, there's evident in us. For you, how real is it? How real is it now?
Well, it's very real. It's like a dream still. But it's very real because I can live and feel the reality of things that I didn't suppose it was going to happen years ago, and it happened now. So I feel like the dream, I made out the dream that I had to move someday from over there coming for overseas,
We want to play two of your songs. I should have asked Miss Susan to, but George only gave me the idea then, to introduce them for us. But I never got to that. We got two songs. Mario?
Could I just say though that they're in Spanish, and so it would be good for Tom to kind of just provide just a brief overview in English of what the song is all about. The one that he I think he wants to play is the one that he's dedicated to his mother, and just like John, the song that John wrote to honor our father, he didn't really hear it, before he died, and Tom, his mother, didn't hear his song either that he wrote in her honor, and he'd tell you why she didn't hear it. But his mother, Miss Annie, was our mother's best friend and school friend, and they went, grew up together. And as I was saying during the break, that when we left Philippines in 1968, and my mother and Miss Annie continued to be pen pals and write each other, get letters to each other, however they could get them to each other. And years ago when I went to Isle of Pines, Julian, Tommy's brother, showed me a letter that my mother had written to his mother. And then when our mother died in 2021, and just recently we were still clearing out her room and looking at the house and looking at her possessions. And myself, my sister Sonia came across a letter that Miss Annie wrote to my mother, which she still had all those years. So definitely a close friendship. So Tommy, I'll let you talk about your song.
Yeah, well, the song I made for my mother named a message for my mother, or a message to my mother. My mother was very sick, and before 2013, my mother was very sick, and every month she was going down, and we could see her going down and getting lower and lower, and we suppose anytime she was going to surprise us, leaving us. But one day she was in the hospital because the ambulance had to come so quick. She was feeling very weak, and we took her to the hospital in the ambulance, and she was there. When she recovered then, I think that was the last time she went in this kind of way to the hospital, because she was several times in the hospital because she had to go very quickly and get attention to the doctor and get attention for medication there. But that day she told me, as she know that I was a composer of songs, she told me, I would like you to make a song for me when you have a chance. And then I told her, yes, I will make the song for you. But songs...
All right, there you go, Tom. Why are you helping me there, man? All right. Thanks, Mr. Tommy. So the song you're making... Yes, sir.
Yes. My mother begged me to make a song, and I said yes, I was going to make a song. So then I was trying to make the song all the time, but I couldn't find the song. And my mother every day was passing, going lower and lower. So then I finally tried one day, but I said, no, this is not the song I want. This not the melody I need. I need something good for my mother, because she have been so good for me. And then that was in 2013 when I was continuous trying to make the song. But in this year now, 2013, my mother passed away. And then I was so sorry because I couldn't find how to make an excuse to her because she had passed away already. And I didn't make the song. So 3 days after that, and this is what I'm going to say is the real truth. In the sky, I saw a small rainbow, a piece of small rainbow, and now I saw a rainbow that way. Just a little piece in the sky and a long stripe all over the sky. A long stripe, like a white stripe in the sky. But also the lilies. In my yard, I had a small lilies, white and some was red, and they blossom. That was in April, and usually they used to blossom in May. But that 3 days after my mother died, they blossom in April. That was my mother. When my mother died was the 13th of April, and then I said, well, it's kind of curiously that this lilies just blossom in April and not in May. So then something came to me. I got the guitar, and I went inside my room, and then I started to, just everything came so easily, so quick and slow, so easy to me to make the song, the melody, the words, and everything came so quick, and I made the song. But I made the song like, say, I was talking to my mother, sending a message to her that she could understand that I made the song for her, even that she was passed away already. Mm-hmm. So that's what I talk about. I talk about how I feel after she passed away, and how the love that I have for her and then I send the message about what I feel about her, and then in the song that what I express.
All right. Well, let's listen to this song.
El día en que tú partiste, me quedé vacío, como hijo entristecido. No sabía qué iba a ser yo conmigo. 3 días después, los lirios florecieron y en mi mente estaba Jesús para consolarme. Pensaba que estabas con Él en el cielo, con el Salvador. Hoy comprendo muchas cosas que no entendía, y también quisiera verte algún día allá en el cielo, mamá. Pelearé mi salvación para cuando yo ya no dé más, mi Jesús me venga a llamar. Hallaré lo que tú encontraste con tu fe y con tu valor, mi Jesús. Yo en ti tu amor, mamá, y Jesús vio en ti tu
And with that, we'll just pause quickly and take a break. There's no love like a mother's love and no strength like a son's resolve. So after we come after the break, let's continue the discussion. Please stay tuned.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by CG Britcay. Insurance, health, pensions, life, where people come first.
Let me tell you something. I've been fishing our island since I was a boy, and it's getting harder and harder to get a good catch. Maybe it's because there are so many more people in Cayman than ever before. Maybe it's because of how the climate is changing. I don't know about that, but I do know that I want to be able to keep fishing and teach my children to fish one day as well. So it makes sense to me that we have certain areas and certain times of the year to fish for certain things. It feels unfair not to be allowed to fish where my dad had taught me to fish, but I know that being patient now means we can keep fishing for many more generations. We're all in this together, right?
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to John Wesley Ebanks, Tommy, Paul Ebanks, and Mari Ebanks for sitting with us and hopefully reminding, not only through music, but historical connections, why we should champion the freedoms we have. We do have a caller online. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, that I guess the last song you played was by a guy by the name Tommy. Is that the name?
Tommy Paul Ebanks. Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you.
Well, yeah, good afternoon. Nice melody.
Mm-hmm.
John, you ought to take that and convert it to English, and might have to change the melody a little bit, but
could I just
be a good one. And I suppose you're going to leave a copy at the station.
Yes, sir, Mr. Yes, sir. The station has a copy, and we'll give. We'll give Sterling Dwayne another copy so he can share with you. Thomas Ebanks' CD, he has 7 songs on it. If I could just say, the first one is the one you just heard called A Message to My Mother. Then he had one called Christ the Savior. Then Even If I Am a Sinner. Then God Made It All. He Lives Forever. Jesus, and then number 7 is on the track is We Need a Friend. So it's a beautiful CD, and it's all Spanish, but Tommy is also considering how he and John and others can maybe convert it into English and do it, because it's beautiful music.
Is the CD on the market, or is it just?
Not yet. He just bought probably about 25 or so to give to friends and people in the church and whatnot. But he's considering how to market it, make it commercial. But Tommy is, and John too, I think, if people want them to come to, a function or whatever to sing, just get in touch with them, and then they can, discuss arrangements. But it's not commercial. This is not about selling CDs. Today we're just talking about the history and culture and the purpose of these songs, and such wonderful talent that both of them have.
Yeah, so definitely, but it won't get too well known, unless you kind of get some kind of distribution on it. But tell George, that John's song was played up until last night on Radio Cayman, so he better start listening.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, I think John, that it's been played, but yeah. Thank you.
It's been getting some play, but and thinking about what the whole story behind the song story, and what John related the whole story, and talking about that ferry. I believe the name of the ferry was the Pinero, I think.
That was the old ferry. She had stopped sailing, then we were in the Palma Soriano.
Oh, okay, because I was over there in 1946, and I think there was 2 ferries going across from Haruna to Barbanu.
Correct.
We stayed out there, and I think the little suburb, Cayman suburb, was Royal Palm Grove.
Palm Grove. Yeah, those times they had the Hibacoa and the Palma Soriano was the 2 sailing that time. They had already retired Pinero. The other one they just mentioned a while ago, the Pinero.
Yeah, I think I still have the Pinero on display in
yeah, she's just up off the river, up to now, down near the river right there in Haruna.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that museum or some kind of, or just a showboat.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, well, keep up the good work, John.
Thank you.
Good song, and love to hear you around more and more.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you.
And John, as the gentleman shares, we here now, start of 2023, 50 years as intervening period, the whole process, a little bit different, but the struggles are still real. And the realities of many of us now probably are such that we can relate to what, I guess what some would say, what obtains.
Exactly. So true. So the challenges and so forth is still there, and in some ways it's maybe more difficult. Yeah.
The process is even greater in the sense, Tommy, that when we look at it, we are probably sometimes maybe confounded by what we see publicly, whether it's in the established media, whether it's a citizen journalist, whether it's the family and friends who visit our places, and without it talking to the sort of the politics, but it's still very much a societal concern, John.
Yes, but I'd also like to say that in the almost 38 years that my father was here after leaving everything he had in Cuba, not one day did you hear him say what I left in Cuba.
Yeah.
He turned his back on that. His intention was to find freedom for his family, and that was the utmost aim for him to accomplish that. He didn't care what he left behind. He said, as the song says, you could take everything I had, but not my liberty. That would be mine.
Yes. And there's other people as well that came on those flights of 68 and 69 as well.
Exactly.
That, that left everything behind and came and started life from scratch, as they say. And as difficult as it may have been, it reminded me of the song about the ship may be battered, but the anchor holds. The sails have been tattered, but the anchor holds. People who have, like my father and those that went through that struggle with us and with their families, but the anchor held, and they didn't give up, and they just kept trusting God, and God delivered and is delivering up until today. So we have to trust in Him, and that's why these 2 songs, these 2 pieces of music is so important, because it speaks to faith, as you say, Dwayne, and courage. I just want to say, I know we have the break soon, but I just want to say to our family and friends in the Isle of Pines in Cuba, who are still there and going through difficult times. I mean, over there now is worse than probably it's ever been. John was there recently, and he can attest to that. But we just want people to just see if you can help the people of Cuba and Isle of Pines, but want to encourage them, if they can hear these words today, to keep the faith. Don't despair, because the bells of freedom will ring for you too soon, and we all of us wait for the day when we can all sing with them that great Negro hymn of emancipation: free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
That's right.
John, when we think of it, as Mario shared, the idea that we press on and press, and we move forward with a resolve and a willingness to serve and sacrifice. That it is not about what we get, but what we give. And I think too often, as I look at today, we measure so much by what we have in the material possession without appreciating that there needs to be more substance in us.
Yes.
As I ask maybe for final thoughts, perhaps Mario quickly, and then Tommy, any sort of quick closing words you want to share?
Dwayne,
John, you last.
John will take up the anchor.
Yeah, anchor holds, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I want to thank you, Dwayne, our friend, cousin, or model citizen, for doing this and doing your research and helping to navigate this discussion today. I think it was a feel-good kind of show, but good history and good culture and very important stuff that we should reflect on. Also want to thank all the people on Radio Cayman, Paul, Susan, and the entire team for doing your part to make this possible today. And I just want to put a little plug in for a book that was written by Miss Shirley Ferguson Ebanks, who is also a cousin of Tommy, and she also came back to Cayman with her family, about 20 years ago, called Caymanians in the Isle of Pines, Cuba. It's a little booklet, and it's very good, and it's available at I think it's Chapters in Cayman Bay and also Book Nook, or if not, get in touch with me or Shirley, and it's an excellent book. And the CDs are not yet commercially available, but we'll talk some more about that in due course. But thank you so much for this opportunity.
You're most welcome. And Tommy, thank you for sharing the music. And even though for some of us we only can probably pick up a few words or maybe a sentence or two, I think the message is very real, of love, of appreciation, of perseverance. Anything you want to share with us?
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you also for permit me to be here. There something very interesting for me that I would like to share is that in the olden days, I don't know exactly, was a man named Alfred Ebanks. He lived West Bay, and he sold his land in West Bay and bought a piece of land in La de Mahagua, right near to where I live. So by that time, I didn't have born yet. So he made a church there. He made a church, and it was a Presbyterian church. And my mother said when she was young, so you can imagine, it was a long time ago. My mother said when she was young, she went there to a wedding. The people of the church invited her, and she was in the church service, and they was doing a wedding there at that evening. So, but I know all of that after something happened. One day I was passing by on a bus, and I saw a group of Africans from Zimbabwe. They was making a service there at night time in the pine jungle, right where that church was, because at this time the church didn't exist anymore. The church, some storm might be blown down in the 1950s or 1960s, was blown down by a storm, and there was no more church. But the Africans chose that place to go. There was Pentecostal Africans that was studying in the university in my town. They had come from Zimbabwe because they brought them there to study. I think around 4 or 5 years in that university. But this group of Africans used to go there to make service at night, and then I said to myself, well, some night I'm going to join with them. So one day I went there and I joined with them, and they prayed for me and I prayed for them. But after that I continued going. Sometimes I used to go at night, sometimes I used to go at daytime. But at all this time, I didn't know there was any church there. I know that after, because I comment to my mother. But my first song that is in the CD is not a number one, but the first song that I made, being a Christian, it was made in that place at night time.
Wow.
So when I went there, it just came to me, all the melody, all the words, and I started to write. I had a flashlight and I had to write it, but I didn't complete the writing there. I completed the writing in my room. When I reached home, the bicycle. So after that, I continued to making songs, gospel songs, because I feel every time I go there, I feel like I get better like a Christian, and I can feel the Holy Spirit moving there in a special way. So I think even if the church didn't exist anymore there, the Spirit of God stayed there in that area, like said, taking care of that place. And only was pine jungles or pine trees there, but the people used to make all kind of activities there and go out day and night time also. So I found that place so interesting to go and pray there that I continued going there. So then this pastor now named, according to his grandson that is living in West Bay right now, he got several grandsons here. One of them named Ernest told me that he came back in the 1960s. He came back to Cayman, but when he came back here in West Bay, he made a next church again. So the man, he was a pastor, and well, I suppose many years ago he passed away. But it's like part of the history of my songs when I start to make my song, and Cayman how part of the history, and Alpines how part of the history, because it's in Alpines, but the pastor that bought our place was a Caymanian. Right. So it's very interesting to me about this history.
Thanks, man. This is what we share, one. John?
Yes, well, I also want to thank Radio Cayman and his team here for allowing us to be here today, and it's very commendable. And, it has given us an opportunity to express some of the struggle that people have been through since 1959 to try to make life better in many ways, trying to get here to Cayman or somewhere else, and also the opportunity to explain the true story behind the song I have written. That is, as I say, it's a story that I have took time to put music to. And thanks for the opportunity here today, and all the listening public. Trust you have enjoyed our time here.
It's been a blessing. Thank you all very much.
I want to leave this gift with you as well, Dwayne.
Pass Mr. Loxley.
One of pass to Mr. Loxley, and for yourself, for Thomas Ebanks. And John, I'm sure John give you one of his as well in due course. So.
Yeah, well, he'll hand deliver it, man. We'll get a coffee.
Yeah, well, I think one is here.
Yep. All right. Thank you all very much. Thanks, Susan, for the extra minutes, and invite our listeners to join Mr. Art Friday. So that means that we got Saturday and Sunday. So come in the morning, start your week off right with Mr. Art. That should be the new slogan. And come back for Talk Today after the midday news and midday meditation. Have a blessed, safe, productive, enjoyable, and prayerful weekend.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Six years.
3 beloved isles. 1 beloved station. Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the